Hey folks, we're going to continue on with converting Light of Xaryxis into the commanding Spelljammer system that we've been developing. Sounds like my signal's loud. Well, it's loud. Hopefully that means it's also clear. But give me a hot second here. Check down in the description down below. There's my Twitter channel where I just posted that I've gone live. So if you want to keep eyes on what I got going on, then be welcome to do so by following me there. Today, we're concluding the conversion of Light, the conversion of Spelljammer Light of Xaryxis using the command mechanics. 2 exclamation points. Let's not be excessive. That'll be plenty of joy. So we're gonna copy that there. We hit enter. I'm just gonna kick down through my chain here real quick because I hang out the DMsGuild lounge. Drive through RPG, and we got Indestructible Boys design a sphere. It's fantastic. Trent Monk just put out some new commentary today about how 1 D&D probably is going to be as incompatible as 3.5 was, but we'll probably convert all to it anyway. Dungeoneer Pack, great guy. Love Josh. His Luchador class is coming along nicely. Classes and Constructs. Let's delete that there. Classes and Constructs does great stuff with MTG. Like converting MTG to D&D stuff. Zipperon does DM commentary and adventure design. Cleric Corner does character reflavoring, like make your druid feel like an artificer, stuff like that. Rich Mary also flavor content. Fry Minis gets all the pre-releases for DM books, so follow Fry Minis. He also does live jams where he and his crew are painting minis. D&D Discord flagship. In addition to all that junk, there is the Patreon link. So if you click on that Patreon link, you can certainly support me as a patron. But that link specifically takes you to this alpha dev document. It's not even it's barely even a rough draft. It's just me hammering out text on how these mechanics work for you to integrate into the system. So if you've been here for the other 38 sessions, 36 sessions that we've done before this, you'll know this link. You should know this link pretty well. Dive into it. Check out the first 25 pages is squad mechanics for pushing people around. Then the next 26 pages is upscaling so that you can command armies at nearly any scale. Then it goes into commanding guilds and kingdoms as downtime activities using the same sort of command philosophies converted to downtime activities. Then it goes into vehicles, examples of guilds, infernal war machines, and then the final piece, which is what we're working on right now, is the Spelljammer document. So after today, this document isn't going to be the Spelljammer bit probably isn't going to see any updates. It's going to be torn out and then handed off to Ukulele Bard and to Adam Hancock for them to chew on rewrites and edits. And hopefully that'll only take a week or so, but I honestly don't know how long it's going to take. I'm just hoping that they get it back to me before October, so that we can work on a book cover, clean up the maps, do the layouts, drop all that stuff in with the charts. It's about 80 pages right now. It's a lot more than I thought it was going to be, but there was just like one more thing, one more exception, one more missing component that these command mechanics provide answers for. So it just kept going and going and going until we're now here on our last pages of building out Xaryxis. So everything in here from the first encounter in space all the way through saving the multiverse. We've got the conversion for ship mechanics inside here, and we are currently just fleshing out how these mechanics engage with. Here, I'm gonna grab this. This is a doc that we've been working on as far as like design work goes. So let's look at this. Pull this in a bit here so it's not in front of my eyes there, like that. And here and here. There we go. And we can expand this out a bit. There's something wonky going on with my mouse today. I think I need to beat it up a little bit off screen, of course. Ooh, I gotta get a timer going. Okay, cool. And then, of course, if you check down below in the description, there's a link to all a number of DM's Guild books that I've published. They're all 100% preview, cover to cover. Same as what this will be. So the mechanics are there for you to incorporate into your campaign. Once this gets released, you can play the entire Light of Xaryxis using the command system that we're presenting here. If you like it, please come back and buy it. If 4 or 5 pages into it, you're like, this is already providing so much more than what Wizards of the Coast was able to put out with their $900 million worth of profit last year. They were able to provide for us maybe 5 pages of mechanics. So let's go ahead and do 80 pages instead, just to show them what they were missing. But convert it all to 5e. It's very simple. It uses the concepts that are presented in SAS, Spelljammer Adventures in Space, SAS, and we just take ideas from 2nd edition, convert them to 5th edition, but then take mechanics from the command system that we've built here about scaling from 5-foot squares to, in this instance, we're looking at here we're looking at different instances of, like, for example, here is a star moth at the 5-foot scale. As you can see, it just absolutely dominates the playing field. So we'll just keep that to the side. Here we're using 50-foot squares. So you got a star moth, which is 200 feet long. So it's got 50, 100, 150, 200 squares, 200 feet in this square. And then we've got over here an example of how large of an air envelope you would theoretically need to have using the 5e rules, which we reworked. This is the size of a star moth, 200 feet. This is the size of a wasp, which is, or like a living tree or a lamprey or whatever. A lot of these ships are less than 100 feet long. So, but you can see how large the envelope sits inside of. If this is 100 feet, then this is 500 feet. So a 500-foot area is almost enough. Like if we were to blow this guy out a little bit more and make him like a hammerhead ship, which is 5 by 5, and then we go in here and we fiddle with the radius just a touch, you'll see what we're talking about. These things are very large and very greedy in space. So the command system that we have here just has, it removes the, I'm going to cancel here, put this guy back to the same size as he was here, then go back into the here and down to cancel. And my mouse is a little wonky today, so forgive me any weirdness that may occur. Wonky. That's my mouse's fault there. There we go. Something on my keyboard sticks with the shift button that screws up all my functionality. So this is too big. It's eating up a lot. So the way that Spelljammer works, that as soon as these air envelopes overlap, there's a potential scuttle that happens where the air envelopes that don't overlap properly, you could skew one of these guys gravity plane, so it could skew both of them according to 5e, but it's pretty loose. So to simplify things and just to make the squares a little more friendly with like how 5e actually works, like it's fine that your air envelope is whatever size because they're not attempting to make ships work on maps. They don't care about that. They gave us 4 pages worth of mechanics for the entire setting, so they don't care about how well ships work on grids or not. It's easier for them to avoid it because they're interested in D&D 1. I don't know why they did this. They should have just kept it in their pocket and did it after D&D 1 got released, just to give it the attention that it deserves. But having said that, the way that we build it is we're going to get rid of this. So 0 equals save. We're going to get rid of this. So that's 0 equals save. So the way that air envelopes work in the command system is that if more than one ship is inside the same 500-foot space, well, first off, objects naturally align gravity planes together. Since gravity planes don't actually exist in physics, and they exist only in Spelljammer, we get to make up the intrinsic laws that govern how they work. And D&D, for the most part, has forces of entropy and forces of order. Entropy, as we expect, breaks things down into its smaller components. It simplifies systems and makes things inert is its ultimate goal, to deaden space. The laws of order the inclination towards order in half of D&D would instead have greater systems build, have more synergy create, and make things more complex in time. That's how order versus chaos kind of works in D&D in a general sense. So if you've got 2 ships with overlapping gravity planes, the natural order of the universe would have these 2 ships, unless they're doing something specifically to hit each other at weird angles to intentionally scuttle each other through hostility and chaos. Then if they just bump into each other, they just naturally align so that there is no scuttle, there's no violence. They just naturally, they're spheres, right? So if these 2 things bump into each other, like if this was a side view, these 2 spheres would just rotate around until they're lined up with each other. It's just like a little, and then they're fine because the wheels of the edges of these spheres are bumping into each other. But in the vast of nothing of wild space or the astral sea, there is no up and down other than the one that you bring with you. So having forces of order make those things just naturally line up allows us to do things like have floating fields of asteroids that all just eventually kind of sift together into one congruous plane. A fresh asteroid belt might be all bouncy and cacophonous and kind of muddling around each other in this 3-dimensional space, but we know that things will just naturally sort out into this even keel field. So you end up having like this, an asteroid field is literally a field of rocks that just goes for however many X miles that the field expands to. A very old, stagnant gravity asteroid field will just be an inert plane of rocks that are just kind of free floating like a disc in space, and then things can start growing on them because they aren't constantly shattering each other and destroying any life that gets built there. By having these gravity planes align and then rest easy, it allows life to build without threat. And then the forces of chaos catching these things inside gravity planes and stuff and then scuttling them. That's how law and chaos fight against each other. So the gravity plane. So what we do, instead of having to worry about these gravity planes scuttle from a tactical perspective, each ship occupies its own 500-foot square. And if you have a ship attempt to enter another ship's square, it's either going to do it peacefully, in which case it is naturally aligned, or you can do it aggressively to attempt to intentionally scuttle the enemy ship. And each ship has a passive scuttle DC, but then there's also the piloting DC. So whichever one is greater, the natural or the pilot DC, is what you are contesting in your D20 test to have your pilot enter the space, like I use a move action, I enter the space, I use my move action, I get to the border, and then I use a pilot check to enter space here so that we can go about boarding one ship to the next. At this scale, at this 50-foot square scale, and this 50-foot square scale, this is 1,000 feet across and 500 feet tall here. These two ships are dogfighting. So they are locked in battle with each other. And at the 500-foot scale here, each one of these squares, let's make this a little easier to digest. These squares are 500 feet. This square is 500 feet. And then we could have each one of these squares is 500 feet. And so this square is a mile. So this is actually a mile scale. So this is 10 miles across. So the final battle of Light of Xaryxis starts at the 10 mile scale with this is the enemy ship's opening position. And like, let's say this is the character's fleet opening position. Your characters are here, and the rest of these ships are factions that you've hired in the third act of Light of Xaryxis, or in the third part. The fourth part is actually getting here into Xaryxis space. You're 3 days out. Second day in, you get noticed by a patrol. Just hard set. They know you're coming. You're 2 days out. So they send a sending stone message back to the Citadel that, hey, there's a fleet of bad coming our way, so we need to do something about that. These are different trebuchet nests. At the 500-foot scale, a trebuchet has a 1 to a 1,500-foot range. I'm gonna change my circle. There. Here's 1 square. Am I doing the... Oh, I lost the thing. There we go. There. I should be able to ping. Why don't I not get a thingy? Why no pingy the thingy? Here, that moves. And that goes back. I should. Oh, it's clear. That's why I can't see the ping. It's a weird option. There we go. Okay, so a trebuchet here has a 1,500-foot range, which goes out 3 squares at the 500-foot scale. So this is 10 squares at 500 apiece. That's roughly a mile. So we call 5,000 feet a mile for simplicity in the system. Let's go back to here and click on that. There we go. And so if we zoom in, we can see that this is a trebuchet nest. A trebuchet nest, if this is a 50-foot square, a trebuchet is a 3x3 space. So you can have 4 trebuchets comfortably sit inside a 50-foot square. You can have 100 50-foot squares sit inside of a 500-foot scale. This is a 500-foot scale square on this map, on this map specifically. So we would do... Actually, we would want to move this over to here, and then we want to move this over to here. I'm going to take this, get rid of it, and grab this. At the 1 mile scale, and the 500 foot scale, a ship looks the same. If you zoom into a squadron of, say, let's look at the document. Here's our chart. Look at the different units. So the character squadron has, come up here. So here's our different factions. Breakdown. You've got the Mercanes who are involved no matter what, and that's the squadron that your characters join, which has 2 hammerhead ships, 4 squid ships, which are 200, which are 500 hit points apiece. So that's 3,500 hit points. The Last Breath is a space galleon vampire ship, so it's got 300 hit points. And the second wind is a living ship, so that is 200 hit points. So that's a total of 4,000 hit points, which is what we see down here. And then you've got, like, say, the humans, the Thri-kreen Scorpions is the smallest contributor. So you can see this Thri-kreen, they have 4 Scorpion ships. They are second rank crew. Scorpions are 2x2 space, so they have 200 hit points apiece. There's only 4 of them, so that's 800 hit points. They're made of metal. So they've got some decent armor to them, hence the armor class 19, best in the fleet. They only move 1 square because that armor is heavy, but they also have, but they got decent reach on them, but they also have the worst reload. That reload should be 3 because they're using mangonels. Trebuchet. Go back up here to see what these guys got. Mangonel, there we go. Second rank. Let's keep it simple. Mangonel, command is plus 1d6, plus 2 to hit. It's on top of the d20. And if you, on that d6, if you roll a, it should be a 5, it should be a 3. If on that d6, when you roll to attack, if that d6 rolls a 3, 4, 5, or 6, then you automatically reload your weapon and carry on. So as the characters, we're talking here. This is the, let me get this guy out of the way. So this is the 10 mile by 10 mile scale, which means each one of these is 1 mile. If we're looking at, like, the humans, the humans have, what does the humans have? The humans have Star Galleons equals 3 galleons, right? So if we're making a squadron out of galleons, go back here, those. Each galleon occupies a 500-foot space, so a 1 mile square can easily accommodate far more than these 3 galleons. But for the sense of upscaling, like if this is a mile each square, then these 3 galleons, each having a 500-foot space themselves, you can represent them as, here's 1 galleon. The word I'm looking for is star maws. You can have 5 star maws per squadron here, so I mean you could pack in a lot more if you wanted to, but the narrative is that you want to have a lot of space between these guys so that they don't end up scuttling each other and bumping into each other. So you want to have a lot of space here. You could have these guys engage this team in dogfighting, and now everyone's inside the same square together. But then if this is the 500-foot scale, if you want to zoom into the 50-foot scales, like this is 50 foot, then this galleon that fills a 3x3 space, it would sit like this is a 3x3 space versus a Star Moth, which is a 4x4 space. There you go. They would be. Oops, that Star Moth is 5x5. Come on, Eggers. Thank you. There we go. Slightly bigger. So its air envelope fills a 500-foot space. This one's air envelope fills a 500-foot space. And these two are dogfighting with each other because they are, in this illustration here, this is their spacing at 500-foot scale. So if you zoom in, this is a 500-foot, this is a 500-foot. This is the area that the galleon occupies, and this is the space that the Star Moth occupies. Using these mechanics, a ballista can fire up to 500 feet away. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So even if this guy retreats all the way back here, and this guy advanced here, he can still hit you with a ballista or any other siege weapon. They're all within range of each other in this 500, in this dogfighting 50-foot square scale where these two are locked together. So while these two ships are making attacks at each other, using siege weapons, like I attack with siege weapons, attack with siege weapons. Unless the pilot here, they can use a dodge action to give these attacks disadvantage. It can use the disengage action so that it can move freely without drawing attacks opportunity from the Star Moth. But otherwise, the pilot doesn't have a lot to do. So the pilot could be using support rolls to give advantages to attacks, like doing shock calls or holding steady. It can do a saving. It can do a reaction to re-roll a saving throw, for instance. There's a number of different roll actions that characters can play while they're having different rolls on the ship. But this here is what this is here. So the pilot doesn't have much to do while in a square unless he wants to enter this space, but then you have to worry about, thank you. Then you have to worry about the these gravity planes, right? So if this ship enters that 500-foot scale, then we're looking at potentially scuttling each other's ship, right? So if I want to just try to board, I can do that by making a pilot check against their using one D&D. It'd be their pilot DC, which is their pilot check bonus -2 plus 10. So if it's a +5 pilot check, it's a DC 13 pilot DC that I would be using. And if I succeed in my check, I can peacefully enter their air envelope and attempt to board them, or just attack at the 50-foot scale, so we can introduce this massive map of the ships. But I could instead attempt to scuttle their ship by violently entering their overlapping our gravity fields. But there's a risk to that. So if I fail the check entering the space, they don't get scuttled, I do instead. So I could attempt to peacefully enter as a pilot check, and if I fail the check, then I can't. I don't have. They're dogfighting with me, so they keep distance. I can't close with them. If I'm attempting to scuttle their gravity field by hitting them at a weird angle, I'm not easing into that. I'm forcing into that space. So it's all or nothing. So if I succeed, I scuttle their gravity. They probably lose concentration, and their ship is disabled. Then I can board them aggressively. But if I fail the check, then I'm scuttled. I probably lose concentration, and then they can just turn around and then they could board me. Or my defenses are down, they can just start punching holes in my ship. So that's the risk reward of attempting to scuttle somebody's gravity by entering their space with you. And then it doesn't matter what the size of your ship is, as you can see down here. If these guys are sitting in the middle of their space like they would be, any attempt to me to enter their space is automatically going to require either doing so smoothly or doing so violently in attempting to aggressively and trying to scuttle them. So there is either do it peacefully or you do it aggressively, or you don't do it at all. So the default is that it's peaceful, but the check happens because if they want you to close distance because they want to board you, then they won't oppose the check. Unless you're attempting to scuttle them, and they can tell you're trying to scuttle because they're coming at you at a weird angle. So they're not coming on at you peacefully, plane to plane. They're coming at you like all weird at a weird angle. It's like, oh crap! If I let that happen, the DC check then is then they can right themselves so that they can either choose to keep distance and you fail, or since you weren't able to scuttle them, they could scuttle you instead, or they could just let you line up with them. So you have a couple different options that you can play out there depending on how you want to resolve the check. And then once you get to once you've either violently, aggressively, or peacefully entered space with each other so that you're adjacent, so you can do boarding, then we can just go to boarding maps. So you can see here that in this situation I've overlapped these two ships together. Like here's the butt end of the what word am I looking for? The galleon. Thank you, space galleon. So this is the front end of the space galleon, and this is the front end of the star moth. So if I'm coming at this guy at a 90-degree angle like this, right, then my ballistas can literally be right here on top of where their catapult is, and I think they have another ballista laying around here somewhere. Anyway, this is like I could have crew jump from here to here because I can make these two bump into each other like that. So then I would zoom in to this 5-foot map and then just start pushing characters around on the 5-foot map like we have here. So you could literally just take a 5-foot step and be on board this ship, and then start running around on their deck and kill shotting people and doing assassin stuff or whatever it is that you do. So that's the goal of 5e is to get you to zoom in to this boarding scale so that you can use combat at the 5-foot scale, which is the only kind of combat they currently offer in 5e other than well, even the Infernal War Machines and the Ghost Assault March are designed to get the boats or the cars together as close as possible, as fast as possible, so that you can start just doing 5-foot ranged combat or melee combat if you jump from one to the next. But again, the whole point of this command system is to allow you to remain scaled out. This is the wrong one. Let's go back to here. But here we don't have to zoom in unless you don't want to. So let's see. So we know that when you get in, so this is a 10-foot. Sorry, let's get this guy out of here and get this guy out of here, and we'll go back to our original setting, which is each one of these squares is 1 mile, so this is a 10-mile space. This is a 1-mile space, and each squadron fills 1 mile, so they're like this versus 5 star moths per squadron. Like, I mean, obviously you could fly these guys in like super tight, close formation if you wanted, and just put a crap ton in here, and you can do that if you want, but it's you don't need to. Space is vast, so you can have these ships, and then they can, again, if you keep them loose like this, they can literally enter each other's space, like we'd seen down here. They can enter each other's space, but we don't have to worry about scuttling each other's gravity until you zoom in to this 500-foot scale. So each one of these squares is 500 feet, which we see here. We see both of these ships entering the 500-foot space with each other. We see each of these entering the 500-foot the 1 mile space with each other. These two ships enter the 500-foot scale with each other. Over here, we're looking at a 50-foot map over here. So these ships are all engaged with each other. If I wanted to have, like, if the characters are on this ship, and Captain Vale, I think, is the main enemy that you're supposed to be hating in this game. These two guys could then, like we showed over here, I'd zoom in so that this is a 50-foot scale, and you have these two ships that are dogfighting. While ships are dogfighting and these two are locked together, I could do a grappling check, an opposed piloting check to pull your ship around. One square per action. I make a check, and then I can move your character. And I only have up to 3 moves per round, so I can make a check, and that allows me to move 1 square. And then I can move a total of 2 more times, so I could square. That's what my pilot can do, because he doesn't have anything to do here at the 500-foot, at the 50-foot scale. He's staying inside of this square, but again, he's, just to show it again, there's no real. There's no actual maneuvering happening inside here. Sorry, let me get that. 1, 2, 3. There's like, what kind of maneuvering does this guy actually need to have against something of the equal size in the next square? They're within 500 feet of each other. They're just locked in this ratio, this in this scale with each other. And if they try to create more distance from each other, like if this guy's trying to run away, and we've got this star moth here, and it 1, 2, 3, 4. These two guys are stuck in this relationship with each other. And that relationship is represented here. So if this pilot wants to do cool stuff, he's going to be doing it out here on this map. Like I can lead you this way, or I can lead you like this, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square. I could change your positioning, or like if you were here, I could instead just go like 1 square, that's where I place you. And then that's another square. And then I could, like if this guy was over here like this, I could 1 square move you again. And then this guy could move 1 square and hit that guy, or I can move 2 squares here and I could be hitting both here and here if I wanted. But these 2 ships are locked in combat, so they could be move, move, and then like move. So 1, 2, 3, or I can move him here instead. So you can lead by like firing your weapons, and they're going to dodge out of the way to avoid the weapons. So that's leading them. Or if they're chasing you, like I'm trying to run away, but they're in a dogfight with you, so they're just pursuing you. So you're leading them where you want them to go. Or while you're firing, you're leading them to where you want them to be. So whatever diagonals work or lateral movement works, however you want to move them. So yeah, that's movement. So having said that, get rid of this, and we'll get there and there. So we start at the 10-mile scale when this is 1 mile square. The fortress down here is occupying. The fleet knows you're coming because the scout had advance warning of you. As soon as you cross this threshold, that's when combat with Xaryxis. That's when Xaryxis feels threatened and officially begins. So when your fleet gets within this scale here, they're still 1, 2, 3 miles away from the fortress. So we can then zoom in here. This is a mile. This square is a mile, and then we got the same ratio that we have here, even though each one of these is a mile. This is 10 miles, this is a mile. Then we zoom into, this is a 500-foot scale. So we have 1, 2, 3, we'll grab these guys here, 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 this, here, that. Let's see. So let's go back to our document. All right, first round, 1 mile scale. When the character fleet enters the same 10 mile square as the Citadel, they fire the Sunbeam, lining up as many character squadrons as possible without also targeting star moths. So, looking at our scale, this is the 10 mile square we're talking about. The Xaryxis beam, let's look at the beam. Show them the damn beams. There we go. Good. There. So going back up here, Citadel, the solar beam. It's a 10 mile long by 1 mile wide beam. Line AOE. Recharges on a 6 on a D8. So whenever this thing fires, it's 10 by 1. So it looks like it's that big. So up there, I'm missing a ship. There we go. So like on this first shot, like this is an easy shot, especially if the characters are here. What a great way to punch them around. Up. So the beam fires, it does, the damage that it deals is 2d8 times 100 damage, so it's going to average about 800 damage, and then it has a DC 15 saving throw, a DC Dex saving throw of 15. So all these ships with the material, like a lightwood ship, has a dexterity bonus of +5 and like a strength of +1. While iron, like metal, has a +5 strength and constitution saving throw and a dex save of only 1. So if the pilot's if the pilot's save is better than the ship's material save, then use the pilot's. So the higher level character you are, or the higher CR the pilot is, the better the saving bonuses are going to be to protect your ship. So these things are going to get hit, and as a reminder, if we're looking at the squadrons, 800 points of damage an average hit can wipe out the Thri-Kreen Scorpions in just like one pop. They're gone. Thanks for showing up. Goodbye. And that still leaves 6 Star Elf Moth fleets. So they've got 1,200 for every 6 ships. I should probably have in here ships and then rank. So I'm going to do that. What is it? 5 each. Character squadron is 9. The Aarakocra is, let's just grab these things real quick so we can keep eyes on them. Aarakocra has 5. That's important for when we build these things out into the 500-foot scale so you can like skirmish proper with them. Artux, let's see. Artux Lampreys, Artux, 5. Humans have 3. Soren Wasp, I think there's 6. Let's double check. 6 and 4. 6 and 4. So we know how many ships are in each squadron there. Ships. We'll go with total. Each 12. One 12. 6 times 5 each. There we go. Ships. I'll do ships. 5 each. I need that. All right. So let's see. We got the squadron. It has 4. Each squadron has 4 actions, which is like move, 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 attack, or like move, attack, attack, or don't move and attack, 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 attack. And every time that your die roll misses, you have to eat an extra action to reload. So if I roll my command die is a 6 every time I attack, I'm always going to be able to reload my weapon as part of the attack, so I can actually get 4 attacks. But if I can roll a 6 with my command die during the attack and I roll a 1 on that d6, then I'm going to fail my reload check. I then have to use a second action to only reload. I can then fire again, so then third action is fire, and then I have an action left over to move, for instance, or dodge. There'd be no point in me disengaging unless I wanted to move, so that's a wasted action. But I could also take aim to give myself advantage on the next attack, and if I have to, I can spin on reload. So quick and easy. That's how that works. The Citadel does the giant beam attack, and it's super freaking dangerous. It has a reload once per round. So on a D8, if I roll a 6 or above, it will reload and fire again. So 6, 7, 8 has roughly a 40% chance, more like a 36% chance each round being able to fire and damage. More like a 3 out of 8. It's kind of like 40. So anyway, less than half a chance, less than a 50-50 chance that any given round is going to scorch. So most of these fleets don't have a lot of hit points. They can get shredded. Like the Gallons can get shredded fast. The Creens can get shredded fast. The Wasps can get shredded next. Then the Shrikes go down. The Lampreys and the Character Squadron are the best. So what I would anticipate happening, we're gonna have to play test it to find out. But what I'm looking at is these, and you aren't guaranteed to get all 5 of these. But if you do, then they're gonna get picked off 1 or 2, like 1 every other round. So we've got 6 fleets that are attacking each of these, and once the Scorpions go and the Galleons go, then you've got 6 squadrons and a bunch of trebuchets if you get too close, and you've got the Citadel of Light. It's going to start trashing these squadrons pretty good, which is great because your squadron has a truck ton of hit points. It can take a lot of damage like that. It can take on a number of squadrons of Starfleet of Star Moths while your team's attempting to close distance. So here's the 1 mile scale, and when, like, say this is your fleet, once you get to this, your squadron, once you get to this scale, we're going to be looking at this map. This is still the 500-foot scale, so you're here. And this is your 1, 2. I mean, it's the wrong ship type. Well, I have to come in here and I have to just grab the right type of ships, like make paintings for the different icons that we can use. Or maybe someone's already built these icons. I can just gank them from the guild and make it easy on myself. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a number of ships in this 1 mile scale. This is our squadron, like the character's squadron. It's pretty dank. A lot of troopage going on here. They're going to space each other out a little bit to make sure they don't get all catawampus with each other. And here at the 500-foot scale, most of these, all these ships have either a range of 1, but almost all of them have a range of 2. So I have to put little leader marks out here so that you can, like with transparencies, so you can see like a kill zone circle around them. Like maybe we just like create an aura of death. Which would be like 5. Great. Like this is ballista range, while this is going to be mangonel range. So we can build out these icons to have these auras. That's this guy's kill shot range. This guy has a shot radius of 10 as well. So here, bop, 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 bop. That's a squad of these guys is like, oh my god, that's so that's a lot. Is there a way for us to reduce the visibility of those auras? Let's what are our options? Circle and square. Yeah, I don't see a way for us to. Maybe there's a light effect. Let's go in here and look at the lighting effects. Night, light, total, dim, advanced, language, and legacy. Cancel. All right. So, whoa, boy, that's a lot. That's a lot of overlays. So we can come back to here. Yeah, setting these things up to be different colors sounds like a really good idea. So let's make our team like that. I can't really see that. So let's try that again. Let's try a different color. Boy, there's a lot going on. So this guy can get to here, and then 1, 2. So this guy's obviously within his area. Yeah, that's Boy, that gun radius, that is a noisy. That is a noisy solution. I don't think I like that. That would be like this squadron moving in to intercept this ship. Here's the scale of the Citadel to here. This squadron could have been here. And so its move, it moves into this space to close distance. And so these ships now have to, the goal for you is, if this, we'll turn this one sideways to represent it's your ship. Your goal is to get somewhere, is to land somewhere on the fortress, on the Citadel, that you aren't destroyed in the process of doing it. The way that the Light of Xaryxis is written is that if your fleet fails, you get boarded, captured, and then taken to the military to the military docks over here, and then you're marched to the Citadel here. But if your team can like get rid of this trebuchet and get rid of this trebuchet, and that opens up this in like 1, 2, 3. You can't land there. 1, 2, 3. You can't land there. You still can't land anywhere. So you're gonna have to like clear off those 3 trebuchet. So like you can get 1, 2, 3. Like you can land over here. This is safe now because there's no trebuchets taking shots at you to do so. So if you can get into a position where you can land without taking damage, then you can disembark, and now your characters are on foot and you're done using boats for the campaign. Everything from here on forward is going to be on foot. So you've got the Citadel firing its giant laser beams. Zop. I just like making that noise. You got the trebuchet towers. And then you've got the actual squadrons of ships that are all trying to keep you from doing what you want, which is just landing here. I mean, the actual goal of the campaign is to get you to land. So it's kind of a fake challenge, because even if you lose, you're doing what the game wants you to do. So I'm not a big enthusiast of that methodology, but it is how it's written, and all we're trying to do is just convert the mechanics. We can go back through at a later time and like convert the whole thing so that it has more options, it's more fun, so that you got stuff to do in the city, blah, blah, blah. But all we're worrying about is mechanics. But once you get into this range, you can zoom into this 500-foot scale and have all of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, geez. That. Right, you got all these guys. They're going to come in, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is your squadron. Your ship specifically. Let's turn you on your side again so that we can find you, and say this squad. They intercept, and now you're back into this dogfighting. Get rid of that. You're back into this dogfight here, where these two are facing off here and here. Maybe you can use, like you can use your lead action to go 1, 2, 3 to pull this ship in, and then this guy goes 1, and this guy goes 1, 2, and this one goes 1, 2, and this one goes 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, and then block this guy's approach. 1, 2, 1, 2, block approach. 2, 1, 2, and then why not burn out your last action to position there? And then this guy has got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Maybe he doesn't want to go. Maybe he sticks around over here. So you got this, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you got 6 ships that are all at the 500-foot scale. They can all easily hit this Starmoth. This guy is not gonna last. So he's gonna get booped. But while you're booping him, you got these guys that are coming in. 1, 2, 1, 2. They can actually move 1, 2, 3 squares in a movement. 1, 2. So these two guys can hammer on this ship. It's probably hammer ship, pardon the pun. These two can hammer on this ship. But then you can have a whole nother squad. Another squadron of star moths come in to support. So every time you cleave out one of these, one of them disappears from the 1 mile scale, and you have that much less defenses that are protecting the citadel. Once it gets to a point where your team is obviously captured, or if you clear out all the squadrons and this is just down to your squadron plus a couple others, then we're operating at this 500-foot scale, and you can be attempting to push your way through to get here, and then you're going to get clobbered by all of these different trebuchet. So you have to instead try to pick at the edges to knock out the trebuchet. And if that trebuchet gets knocked out, then you can start, whittling your way through so that you can, that's not the right answer. So that you move your way through, and then you can get rid of another trebuchet and another trebuchet. And you just had to open up those 1, 2, 3 trebuchets, and now you can land somewhere over here, or you're on foot and you're done. But you have to get rid of all these squadrons in the process, because if you clear out the trebuchets, but there's still star moths flying around, you're not safe yet, because they're going to just carpet bomb you while you're running through the city. So you got to get rid of the squadrons as well. So if you can knock out the fleet and you can clear out some trebuchets, then you can get onto the citadel, land, and then on foot head to the citadel. When the in command of squads and armies comes out after this, we'll be able to give you mechanics for commanding like gargantuan or 50-foot squad footprints of troops running around with spears and swords and guns and stuff, so that you can actually do a siege to the city, like we showed in the playtest design build for the Greenest in Flames back in, that was like, I think like around session 25. So that's a sequence. You close, you're getting peppered by the citadel, and you're being harassed by squadrons of these star moths against your fleet squadron. And at some point, you're going to close to the 500-foot scale. So each ship is occupying 1 square here, and you can close this distance. And then you can mix it up and fight there, and you can close further still with your ship to dogfight another ship if you want, or you can just stay panned out and not worry about that scale of definition. Or if you really want to get intense about it, you can scuttle or passively enter their space to board, and then you're back on fighting at the 5-foot scale, running around the ship and shooting people in the face and casting magic missiles and stuff like that. So that's the 1 mile, 550, and 5-foot scales that are all active at the same time, going from squadrons to ships to a squadron in a square, a ship in a square. 50-foot scale is dog fighting ships in a square, and then 5-foot is boarding map and getting off your boat. So those are the different scales that we're working at. So I've been building a sequence of events. We've got first round at the 1 mile scale, and the character fleet enters the same 10 mile square, which again is here. This is entering the same 10 mile square like this. When the characters enter the same 10 mile square as the citadel, they fire the solar beam. It's a solar beam. That's what we call it up here too. Solar beam. Sun from the lining up as many character squadrons as possible without also targeting star moths. And then these Xaryxis squadrons, they're going to be attempting to grab and then lead up here, grab and then lead and then say advance, and then lead. They're going to try to line up as many of the character ships as they can so they can hit them with a solar beam and just trash the fleet. Your team is probably going to want to try to stay clear of one. You only got to get hit once to see what they're doing, which is great. They're super telegraphing the technique, and it has a very slow recharge. So if they can keep a line here, or if your team can lead and scuttle their defensive line, then they're not going to take this shot because it's going to kill their own star moths. Instead, boy, let's grab a ruler tool here. Like, you're going to hit this one here, so you can't take that shot. You can take the shot, but it's going to be 10 miles, so you're going to kill your own crew. It's like they're going to wait and see if this guy can get himself out of the way. So the sunbeam will wait, and instead this guy is going to use all of his actions to try to like do that or this, whatever he can to get out of that line, and then fire. They could even go so far as to get another squad here, get you locked into a dogfight, pull here, so that this guy can then rearrange himself, say here. So you've got this shot now lined up, or you've got like this shot lined up. So you can hit pop, pop, pop. You can hit these three. Like, that's your optimal shot right now for the Citadel. So it's going to take that shot. So the Xaryxis squadron is shooting, but more importantly, trying to lead squads to line up so that you can hit more than one. Second round, Sunbeam is going to attempt to recharge. The Xaryxis squadron is going to move in, and it's going to try to determine if it can figure out like which squads were easiest to hit and which ones are looking the most damaged. And so it's going to go back into, we can go into this scale here. We can look at these guys. It's like this guy and this guy seem like the easiest. This one's tough. These low hit points have high armor class. So it might actually be easier to take out the Shrikes first, and then the Sorin Wasps, and then go after the Kreen and the Galleons. But if like they take aim and take a shot and they do like 600 damage, they're going to be tear these guys out quick, and soon the characters will be outnumbered pretty quickly. But the characters have this thick, beefy hit point squadron that they're a part of, and each one of them is it's three of us versus one of us versus three of them. That's how much you can sustain. So you can take this heavy squadron and try to roll up on the Citadel and try to take out these different trebuchets, while trying to avoid being blasted by the laser. So let's see. So that's how the second round goes, and then the third round, we're looking at the Sunbeam will continue to fire each round that it recharges. Starmoth squadrons will continue to focus on character squadrons as listed, attempting to line up ships for the solar beam. Solar beam. Solar beam. The solar beam can roll a recharge 6 on D8 at the beginning of each turn. It will fire again. Lining up as many character squadrons as possible without targeting any star moths. If there's three squadrons, 3 character squadrons and only damage 1 Starmoth squadron, it will fire, granting advantage to the Starmoth Dex save. Period. No damage. Period. Move to take weaker factions, remove from the battle before focusing on larger squadrons. Order preference to attack, skip any factions that aren't present. Kreen, humans, then Sauron and Akrokra, and then the Ardux, and then finally the character squadron. Let's see. Xaryxis squadrons move to target weaker factions. Move in pairs. I hear you. Yeah, 20 more minutes. Focusing on larger squadrons. Move in pairs to target weaker faction squadrons. To remove from the battlefield. Present. Storm Squadron will continue to focus on faction squadrons as listed. If they can have 2 or 3 Starmoth squadrons per faction squadron, they'll focus. They'll do so. There. Let's see. 1 mile scale. Once the characters are within 1 mile of the citadel, scale into the 500 foot scale for each for the squadron to battle ship to ship. .500-foot scale is going to be, let's see, Trebuchet will ready attacks for any character ship that moves within 1,500 feet, 3 squares of its position. Attacking as a reaction. And will either fire twice during their next round, or fire once and ready and attack as a reaction if other ships seem likely to move to also move within reach of their attacks. Citadel, scale into the 500-foot square map. For the squadron to attack ships individually. Attack ships. And trebuchet individually. There we go. Do it like that. Let's take a look here real quick. How likely is this gonna happen? So we've got these guys here. Just lining my stuff up to see what my logistics are. Here. Here and here. So once you enter the square here, the solar beam was holding an attack, and it'll take its shot and peel out whichever two, however many it can hit. And then probably something more like this. Probably what they would want to do. For the character squadron to attack ships and trebuchet individually. Let's make sure the objective is clear. Encounter objective, right. Let's see, what is it? The characters, allies aboard ship suggest that if they can safely land, they can head to the Citadel to stop the ceremony. And hopefully stop the destruction of their homeworld. The objective is to find a space on the Citadel where the characters can land, where the characters' ship can land without taking, without being targeted for attacks once a the fleet once the Xaryxis fleet and trebuchet towers have been cleared to safely land. And continue the adventure. Cut there, enter, enter. And what's this thing titled? Oh, heading the wrong way, buddy. What do we want to call this? Let's call it Citadel Battle. So let's rearrange this a little bit. There, get rid of that. How do you see an elegant, crystal-spired city built in the back of Master Blanc? A beam of light stretches from a crystal atop the temple towards the bright white star Xaryxis. An armada of the fleet. A fleet of crystal-winged ships patrols the space around the citadel. They somehow safely land. They can head to that Tower of Light. The coronation is being held, and hopefully stop the ceremony and the destruction of your home world! Exclamation point. Once the Xaryxis fleet and trebuchet towers and defenses have been cleared to safely land, continue on to Chapter 11 to conclude the adventure. Let's see. Attacking the Citadel. Following information, the following chart provides a summary of each squadron's basic combat statistics while being commanded. While under command. Further below are statistics for the Xaryxis and Citadel defenses and basic strategies for each challenge facing the character's fleet. Squadron chart, Xaryxis Squadron, Xaryxis Citadel, trebuchet, back up to here. Common docks. I'll have to redo this map. Number 4 is gardens. And then gardens. Ori, trebuchet, towers, gardens. After gardens is high quarters. High quarters. After high quarters is Imperial docks. After Imperial docks is Imperial palace. After Imperial palace is low quarters. Then 9 is military quarters. Military quarter. And there's the 10 Temple of Light. 11 is the trade quarter. Where's the Temple of Light? Where's the Temple of Light? Oh, the Great Orrery. Right. Great Orrery stays 5. Temple of Light is 1. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Trade quarter, Temple of Light, already got it. There we go. 10, 11. So I can just drop in numbers like number 1 here, and then a 2, and 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 a 2. So I'll have to grab this guy and put him. Let's put him in a square. All right. Well, hey, it's been an hour and a half. We've pretty much got the encounter worked out. Right now, all I have to do is start building out map assets. But otherwise, boy, this thing is pretty done. So I can hand this off to Ukulele Bard and Adam and have them chew on it. I'm sure we'll have some fun tussling back and forth about how things need to be ordered. And it'll be we'll be able to push it out. 188 pages, and we start on Dark Star. Where's the start? How do I get to the... Thank you. There we go. All right, so this is page what? We're starting here on page 170. So there's 18 pages of conversion for the Light of Xaryxis using this system. And... boy, oh boy. This goes all the way up to... So page 108 out of 188. So without extensive illustration, mapping, and formatting, this guy is 80 pages. So it'll be 100% free preview. We may split out Light of Xaryxis into a separate chunk. But if I can have it all inclusive, that'd be grand. So 88 pages, no, 80 page, yeah, it's 80 pages currently, 18 of which are Light of Xaryxis conversion, and so 70 pages are on the command mechanics for everything involving Spelljammer. How changing the having materials make a difference, having size, armor class, all the amount of tons that they can carry, all that stuff parsed out. How to navigate wild space, how to improve the use of helms, the pilot check, mapping scales that we are commonly going to use. The range of visibility based on the size of the object, how far away you can see them. An example of scaling from a 5-foot to 50-foot to 500-foot scales. The role that wild space orreries play with the helm in being able to track things through space and visibility. Then we talked about the gravity planes, which we just talked about. Astral flight, how does that work if you're on or off a ship? Speed of thought in regards to you moving. How do we deal with crashing into objects? Planet orbits and entering crystal spheres. Let's see. Generally, planets and other massive objects travel around the crystal sphere very slowly across 4 quadrants that surround the ship. Oh yeah, planet orbits and entering crystal spheres. This is talking about how frequently do you need to update the orbit on things that are objects that you're tracking in the system. How to map out a system using 200 million mile squares, 100 million mile squares. Down here we're looking at 50 million mile squares, like you can move 2 squares in a day. Scaling maps during exploration, how to make to like, you know, explore asteroid fields and stuff like that. Chases, where you've got objects that are flying at high speeds trying to close an open distance with each other during that pursuit. You got the tactical scales in the different sizes of the combat, the 500, the 50 foot, and the 5 foot boarding scales. Specifics that go into that. Astral combat, what changes about astral combat involving the speed of thought that you need to be considering. That's different from wild space itself. You got the command roles. This is a big one. This is on page 124 of the document. It's got the 4 rules of augur, pilot, siege, support, and then of course we have the siege commander further down if you're dealing with siege size. But these are the 4 basic roles instead of the bosun and cook or whatever garbage it is that they put out there. We have 4 like serious mechanical roles that your character can play, and you can play more than one role at the same time. So you got the augur role, which is like a lookout using the orrery sensor system to be able to detect things that are coming close enough for you to identify. And on top of that, you're a shot caller, so you can track things through the void. You can give a weapons crew precise aim. You can extend the range of a weapon crew by 500 feet during their next attack. As a reaction, you can impose disadvantage on an attack or an ability check. Targeting against the augur's ship. Early warning reaction, grant crew advantage, your whole crew advantage for 1 saving throw against 1 effect targeting the ship or crew, or if maintaining concentration as a saving throw instead. If the effect targets an area, all crew within the area roll with advantage, not just one specific crew member. And then you got additional like personal actions like casting spells or issuing a verbal command to attack, whether other roles can do. And you get the piloting role, which is using an object interaction to pilot the ship, 1 movement. And then you've got additional actions, dash, dodge, disengage, which all now have mechanical relevance, meaning what you think they mean using the command system. Boarding and dog fighting, which is closing from that 500 to the 50 foot scale for dog fighting, and then from 50 to the 5 foot scale for boarding. Escaping a grapple if you're getting hit by grappling claws, or a giant sea fish grabs hold of you or whatever. Withdrawing is going from that 5 foot to 50 foot, and from the 50 foot to the 500 foot, the 500 to the 1 mile, and then 10, 100, 1,000. It pans out, and then it becomes a chase. So it transfers from a dogfight to breaking away from engagement to then trying to flee altogether and just pan out to ramp from 500 feet per round to 10,000 miles per round. Like, you got that ramp up period. So if you can hit that, then they have to decide to chase you into light speed or whatever, and come at you and try to catch up with you, which is where your orrery skills from the augur comes in handy, to be able to track them through space and to be able to close that distance so that you can continue engaging them. And then you've got the opportunity attacks in case they try to withdraw or move out of an area of an attack range without using the disengage action first, just like you think it's supposed to be used. Then you can hold steady to give advantage on a shot, and then you can try to scuttle another ship's gravity field. You can ram as a melee attack. You got quick recovery, which is a reaction in case you get scuttled and you lose concentration, or if you get hit with like a stun spell effect or something like that and it trashes your concentration. Then as a reaction, you can use quick recovery to regain concentration so that you can continue shielding the ship with your own life force. Then you have additional actions like augur, casting your own spell, stabbing, shooting a fool that's next to you, whatever you need to do. And then here's the pilot statistics that go into that, taking damage for the ship with your own life force, how to maintain concentration. And then you've got the ship melee attacks using a ram or grappling claws or grappling tentacles. And then you've got the siege roll, which is commanding siege crews to fire and reload and fire and taking aim. There's different scaling ranks depending on your level and your CR versus the crew that you hire. Feat for improving, using your charisma or whatever score instead of like the default. Rate of fire we were talking about with reload. And then you go into commanding multiple weapons at the same time and how that works out. And then you have your various siege command options, like specifically reloading if they botch their reload check, taking aim to gain advantage, opportunity attacks, as well as ready attacks so that you can use a reaction to attack with. And then you can mix that in, like you could have a pilot that's also a siege commander and the augur working those 3 stations, dividing up their actions between those 3 roles. And then you got siege weapon damage and what happens if you try to target the crew with siege weapons. This stuff might actually belong at a different portion of the document. It's just this is the dev doc. This is how stuff flows out. We'll see how it ends up shaking out in the final process. But here's weapon damages, and they've all been rounded off basically to the 500, 500 foot scales. It's like 150 to 500, and this is 150 to 500, and Mangonel's range is 200 feet is close to far, so you can have it's like 200 to 1,000. These are all rounded off. The spell cannon we created has the same range of ballista, but you can use a cantrip to fire it, so it doesn't require any ammo. Trebuchet, it's got that 1,500 foot range, which is 3 squares away at the 500 foot scale. Gift cannons are similar to the solar beam, except it's doing times 10 damage instead of times 100, because the solar beam is significantly larger. Check that reload time. That is super slow because it's so big and it does so much damage. So and you got your ammunition. How to create more ammunition from foraging, like chopping up trees or like quarrying stones so that you can make ballista and trebuchet stones, or like stuff the gift cannon with rock. You can do all that stuff. Then you get the support roll, which can use this one's fun. In addition to the help action, which is obvious, characters can use class features that affect ability checks. Below is a sample of general class features that modify ability checks in addition to their normal uses. They can affect augur checks, pilot checks, regardless of which ability checks the features use, and siege command checks. The Flash of Genius, Barbarian's Rage, and Domino Might can affect siege attack rolls. Bardic Inspiration dice, Jack of all trades, expertise can augur and piloting checks. These are different things that your classes have that can affect it. And you got fleets, features, magic spells, and stuff that affect die rolls. Spells that affect checks themselves, like Guidance, True Strike, Bless, Borrowed Knowledge. These are all things that can modify your ability checks that you're making. And then we talk about upcasting, modifying spells to the 50-foot scale, and the changes that we have to implement to make that happen. So if I cast invisibility on my ship, and that's a 250-foot long ship, what do I got to do to be able to successfully cast that, and what's the concentration costs and all that kind of stuff. That's all laid out here. Here's a bunch of specific spells that provides us a good working knowledge of how we can modify stuff on the fly. Beyond that, like what I particularly like is using Fabricate to fix things. But then you got, like, if you use Animate Object or like Awaken, you can have your ship become a companion, like a sidekick. Kind of like if you wake up, like if you awaken your horse, it's a sidekick now. You can awaken your ship so that it's a living construct itself, so that you can, hey, guard this asteroid while we go search for monsters inside. It's like, sure thing, boss. And so you've got a ship that's your ally. I love that. and animated ships and awakening ships. And he talks about them being a companion, like banishing smite, big me, all these different spell effects, go with vulnerability to protect your ship, all that nonsense. Then you got other support options like retargeting, shared power, and then they can mix in, and then we talk about blending roles and group initiative, how you can use these blended roles to modify initiative. What's a really simple, easy way to use group initiative along with surprise, so you know how to deal with, like, if everyone's going to attack at the same time, how does surprise work? All that stuff is important. That needs to be fleshed out, so here it is. We talk about repairing ships. Fabricate can resurrect your ship. That makes sense, right? Shipyard, and then we got shipyard repairs, because it takes concentration and ritual casting times and spell slots to be able to repair hundreds of damage on your ship. Or you can just toss a bag of coin and then go on shore leave, and when your ship is done, you can leave. So you can do all your shopping while it's getting repaired, instead of being stuck there like holding a board and concentrating on it for 5 hours while it gets fixed. It's ridiculous. When we talk about squadron mechanics, how ranking works, the modified role of squadron commander, and how that works similar to piloting and siege commander as a blended role. So you could be the pilot of your ship, the siege commander of your ship, and the squad commander of a sister ship or 2 or 5 or 10. Squadron weapon ranges and damage, and then upcasting to the 500-foot or 1-mile scale. How reloading works with squadrons, and then we're dealing with massive objects and scaling size and hit point capacities. Maintaining a lifestyle aboard your ship and the cost of doing so. The lifestyle that you have to maintain to have different ranks of crew, and if you don't maintain this high lifestyle, then this high quality crew starts to erode down to garbage. Here's where you can find them and how you can replenish the lifestyle that you want for your ship. How to hire a crew. The kind of quality of crew you can find in different at different communities, depending on how common spell jamming is in that community. You get your morale and mutiny, how to deal with that. Here's how air works on your ship. Here's what fires do on your ship. Here's how it spreads. Here's how it damages. Here's how it poisons your air. Here's how you get rid of it. Here's more hazards in space. Astral doubt, where you can have conflicting opinions about where you're supposed to go and get lost. Infestation. Some of this is going to sound familiar from Ghost of Saltmarsh. Then there's wild storms, the size of the storm, how easy it is to find it, rerouting, how much time it takes to go around it, the type of storms and the effects that they can have on your ship and crew. And then we go into different types of creatures, like the unnatural nature of creatures in wild space beyond what they provide for us in Boo's Menagerie, like actual flight mechanics, tracking mechanics, stalking mechanics, chasing creatures down, how these things can hop into your gravity plane while you're flying by, how the truly massive creatures can be upscaled to the 50-foot, like a 2x2 50-foot scale, so it's like the size of a lamprey ship. So it can attack and it can grapple your ship. So here's how that happens when it's attacking both your ship and your crew at the same time. The aesthetic ship, Kandori, roping Kandori and having them fly around. How long does that actually take to do? That comes up in Light of Xaryxis, but it's kind of hand-waved. Lunar dragons, megapedes, murder comet, scavers. These are all things that need to be resolved. And you got space guppies, which are like nothing creatures, which leads into just unnatural beasts and plants in general, unnatural mounts, flying in space with mounts because of Kandori. We're as fast as Spelljammers. Why the hell would you bother with a Spelljammer? You're just going to lasso Kandori so that you can fly around space with a creature that's designed to do it. So space flight has to be faster than animal swim speeds through space, so we take that into account for plausible deniability. But then why aren't we writing these things? So great, let's create astral chariots and unnaturally drawn carriages. And then if there are enough of them or large enough, they can unnaturally draw your ship as a wagon crew, not at 100 million miles per day, but slower depending on what kind of creature it is. How all this stuff affects astral travel in space. And then we've got crystal sphere generators. We've already seen, I think, 2 different random generators for crystal spheres on the DMsGuild. So this doesn't need to be a heavy lift, but it does need to speak to the scaling of how much movement you can make per day, and like the maps that we showed up earlier, it's actually kind of important to have that kind of scaling. So we flesh out, central star, size of the sphere, the number of worlds that you have, and how large they are depending on the size of the sphere. Here's an example of a random sphere that we created. Here's how we determine the size of each world using the massive object scaling that we had up above. World composition, like what kind of element are these things made out of, and if they're weird, what is that weirdness? How does the para-elementals work? What's the air quality like on that world? How does visibility work on that world? Do they have any orbiting moons on that world? And of all these moons and worlds that you've built, are they inhabited, and by what? What's the temperature like on each of these worlds and moons? What's it like to have an inhospitable world? And then, after all that crap, then we get into the converting Light of Xaryxis into this whole command system. So, having said all of that, then we got the 18 pages of it, and then we're pretty much done. So there you go. I could go into more detail and add. I could probably go in and add like flesh out the Xaryxis system and then define what each planet is using the command scaling, which is something I can do tomorrow, maybe tonight, depending on what my time is. But that's the full Monty of it. So that's the spiel. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. I've had a decent stream today, so I'm going to check out. I'll probably be doing some. I think I'm doing Eberron art tomorrow. So check in with me then. On Monday, we'll be streaming more martial powers, looking at spellcasting conversions using the power system that we've been working through. Monday night, I think I have more artwork for Eberron, building assets. And then we'll be back here with this on Tuesday lunch, Thursday night, Friday stream like now, and then Saturdays. Not this weekend. I took off playtesting so I can get caught up on this stuff. But I'll be doing playtest content next Thursday and Friday to prep for the continuing Descent into Avernus playtesting that we've been doing, using Infernal War Machines at the 50-foot and 500-foot scale. And hey Tyler, we just took over the Hell Wasp nest in Descent into Avernus, so now we can give all of our Infernal War Machines wings so that they can fly, so that we can start doing Spelljammer fighter combat in Hell against Zariel's Flying Fortress and dragons and stuff like that. And this is the end of the stream. I've been kicking for about 2 hours, so I gotta bounce out for now. I'm going to be doing artwork tomorrow for Eberron. But yeah, good stream. Basically went over the mechanics. Did a quick walkthrough of like roles and stuff like that, and all the stuff that we fleshed out for this. What's become an 80-page spelljamming document that covers I just went over the list of all the stuff that it covers. Just did a page-by-page walkthrough. So it's a pretty massive doc. And I'm not sure how fast we're going to be able to turn it around, or how happy Ukulele Bard and Adam are going to be with how much content we have here right now. But all of it works right now. All the mechanics, all the components, they function now as intended. The playtesting jived with what we were at. I think I've sussed out all the niggly bits. So yeah, I'm going to cut stream here. And Tyler, man, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. But I gotta bounce and get back on with my day, and I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. So, cheers.